we watched Snow White. It was a movie that I watched. I even dressed up. You can't really see it because it's cold today, so I had to wear a coat. But I'm wearing a little yellow dress that's very old and actually needs to be repaired. But that's besides the point. Snow White is a movie.
That's a little old and needs to be repaired.
Yeah, Snow White is also a movie that's a little old and needs to be repaired. And was this film successful in doing that? Let's talk about this approach to Snow White and our thoughts on it. We're going to keep this one spoiler-free. So this is just my immediate thoughts coming out of the theater. Yeah, so spoiler-free for you. Enjoy. And if you want to hear about all of the changes in depth, check out the full review where I'll talk about that. I feel that it is important for us to consider before we talk about this movie, that this movie is not for me. It was not made with me in mind. An adult woman to watch, okay? And when I was at the theater, I saw a bunch more kids that were just dressed up and so excited to see this movie. And it started to make me feel guilty about the fact that I was like, oh no, I don't think I'm gonna like it. But the good news is I saw it in a general theater, which means there was a bunch of children in the theater, and they seemed to really be enjoying it. They were commenting on everything and asking questions. They were singing. I mean, it was pretty cute. So just keep in mind when we get into this, I acknowledge that this film is not necessarily for me. And I do think if you have, kids in your life, younger, like girls especially, but I think also there were some boys that were there that seemed to be enjoying it as well. Just kids in general, no matter their gender, I think are going to enjoy the film. Okay? Now, did I enjoy the film? I liked elements of this film. There are elements of it that I actually think were very well done. But the overall piece, no. It was not good. It's not a good movie. There's a lot of issues that I have primarily with the script. I do think that the acting and the singing was good. I think that the issue isn't really people's ability to act or perform, but more the script. I even liked Gal Gadot as the evil queen. I thought that she did a pretty good job. It's too bad about that script, though. They really gave her some really stinky lines in this. Some real stinkers. They gave everyone some stinky lines. They gave Rachel Zeglar some stinky lines. And the worst part is that I think she enjoyed delivering them. But that is neither here nor there. The other issue I have with this film, in terms of it as an adaptation, is that they're really trying to add some modern sensibility into it, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. You can do that. Something that I enjoyed, a film I enjoyed where I felt they did that successfully, was actually the Little Mermaid remake. Surprisingly, has some additions to it that just add to the characters of Ariel and Eric and actually makes their love story feel more legitimate in a modern setting. They're not in a modern setting, but I just mean being released for a modern audience, it felt a lot nicer. This film tries to do that and then some, and they're not successful. I don't need to wear these now because the sun is behind us. So that's my issue with it. It's just clumsy and lazy, and you can do it and make it good, or you can do this and just try to shoehorn everything in and ignore straight up freaking logic at times. There were things in this that I was like, that just doesn't make any sense. We'll get more into that in the full review. But some big things. In terms of how it adapts the values, I feel like mostly that's all right. They do have true love. We do have kindness and compassion, which I think is a huge part of Snow White's story. She does care for other people and other people care for her. Fairness was an interesting one because they've obviously recontextualized the idea of fair to mean being just. How do I feel about that? Well, so what I mean is you know, the whole idea of the evil queen saying to her mirror, who's the fairest in all the land. And this whole idea of the evil queen being a beautiful woman who is jealous of, like, a child, which is very strange in a modern context. But anyways, we're going to overlook that for a second. And the idea is that Snow White, being younger, is more beautiful. She comes of age, she blossoms, she's beautiful. And she's young. She's young and hot, and that is what the evil queen doesn't like. But in this, it's not just really about being young and hot or being hot. It's about being beautiful on the inside and having a beautiful personality that shines outward. There's nothing wrong with that as a message. I think that's actually a good message. But I just mean when so much of the story is really about, like, the surface level beauty, it's really hard to reinterpret that because it's just baked into the story. And it also at times feels like what they're saying is, like, don't care about what you look like because that's, like, not important. And if you are beautiful within, then you'll be beautiful without, which also is a great idea, but isn't inherently true and is just a weird thing to say because it makes it feel that if you care about your appearance, somehow that's bad. The movie doesn't outwardly say that.
No, but vanity is, like...
Vanity is a sin. Right.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is that does that feel weird in a modern context? A little bit, because I think it's still okay to care about how you appear as long as it's not all you've got to offer. And I don't think the film makes enough of a distinction between that. And so it kind of just feels, it's funny because they're trying to update the value to feel less shallow, and in doing that it actually comes across as more shallow to me in terms of the themes, because the theme is now
I agree with that completely.
If you are, like, hot, you're basically evil. Not to say that Rachel Zeglar isn't, like, beautiful. She looks beautiful in this film, but they don't focus at all on her beauty, like, at all. It's all inward beauty. I think you can have both, is the reality. I will say, throughout the entire film, this film is visually beautiful. The sets, the costumes, the makeup, the props, the visuals are great. The color grading, not so great. The color grading is yellow for a lot of it, and at times it feels like it actually loses color and becomes quite flat.
Piss yellow.
Yeah.
So much.
And I mean, for some films, the color grading that they're doing here could work.
For some scenes in this movie, it works.
It works well, but
it's like Thor, the original Thor, where everything had to be a Dutch angle for some reason. Everything had to be graded yellow in this one.
Yeah, it was an interesting choice, to say the least. And so when you're watching it, it's great, but then you're like, okay, this movie's just all right. It's not amazing. And then you get to the third act and you're like, oh no. Now we have to wrap this up. And how do we wrap up something that we've actively tried to restructure? So much of the conclusion of Snow White, they change stuff so that you can't have the same conclusion. You can have the same conclusion, but you have to get to it in a completely different way. So they had to go a different path with it, and that's where it really becomes just a parody of itself, because it gets downright silly. But you know who would like it, I think? Naruto. Because he's always talking people down.
Oh, Taki no Jutsu?
Yeah. There's a lot of Taki no Jutsu in this. I mean, that's kind of a spoiler, but I don't think it is. If you've seen the trailers, I feel like you're probably expecting that there's going to be some element of that, and there's a lot of that. But they also weirdly changed elements that take away from the film.
Yep.
That make you go, but why do you even need to interfere with that? That wasn't hurting you. That didn't affect you. Just leave it alone. I don't understand. And weirdly, there are elements of it that, to me, even came across as, like, ableist as a result of that. Which, like I said, it's weird. It's like they're trying to be so careful that they actually, like, wreck shit, if that makes sense. It just feels like they're just made this film and we're tiptoeing very carefully around everything to the point that they just don't end up saying anything impactful. And that's the thing, when you're too careful, then there's no substance. You don't have to do it exactly as it was. I understand why they wanted to make some changes, but you have to ask yourself, what are we saying with this film? Like, what is the point of it? And I just think artistically, there really is no point. But in terms of it being a celebration of some beautiful values and, you know, giving something for children to aspire to, and that element of it, I think it's fine. I think it's cute, and there's probably a lot of kids that are really going to love it. I think the merch sales will be good. And the other thing I wanted to say is just that the music, just a quick note on this. We'll get more into each song in the full review. Some of the songs are fine. Some of the songs are adaptations of ones we love. Those are good. Some of the songs are just, it was sung well, but it's not memorable at all. So
I couldn't tell you a single song now. And
Princess Problems.
We just got out. I forgot that happened.
Oh, I remember that one. I liked that one, Princess Problems. Other than that, yeah. And they got rid of my favorite song. Well, they changed my favorite song, but to the point that it's basically unrecognizable. That's all I have. I'm going to give it... Yeah, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5, I think.
Also giving it a 2 strictly because, yeah, props and set deck were working overtime.
Well, people put a lot of work into this movie,
yeah.
So let's just acknowledge that. And also, I think the animals, the CG, so cute. Like, man, they really were like, let's make these animals heckin' cute.
Yeah, they didn't go for, like, realism with the animals. It was kind of like a mix of, like, what a cartoon would look like if it was real, I guess. That's
what a cartoon would look like if it was real. But I think that works for the film.
Yeah, it wasn't it wasn't hyper realism by any sense. Like, the rabbits don't look like, you know, like a bunny rabbit that you would see outside or, you know, as a pet.
The dwarves look a little uncanny valley, as you said. Yeah, I agree with that.
Took me a second to adjust to the dwarves, but when I realized that, they're just going for like a cartoonish realism, let's call it.
It works.
It works. It works.
But is it sometimes disturbing? Yes.
Yes.
That's basically it. Let us know what you think of this movie down in the comments below. Are you going to see it? Have you already seen it? What are your thoughts? That's basically all I got for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay nerdy. And click this thing. Wait, this thing. What is it? It's something amazing. You better click it. It's probably Disney. That's probably what this is. All right, bye.